think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hey, folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the program. Good morning to everybody out there. How you doing? This is officially my first sip of coffee of the morning. I know that's hard for many of you to believe. Sorry, that's my first sip of coffee. I've kind of been running around, trying to get the finishing touches on the program this morning. Let me tell you, there's a lot of news to get to today. First of which, I guess the one that is most disturbing to me is the fact that, you can't really believe anything you're being told now, but the judge that was overseeing the Jeffrey Epstein case, the one who was overseeing, it's a result of a previous suit where they were unsealing these documents, and I told you that, I guess I told you on Monday that it didn't matter that Jeffrey Epstein had, quote, committed suicide, end quote, because those documents would continue to be given, released. They would continue to be unsealed. But the judge overseeing that unsealing has died. Now, here's where it gets interesting. He was 96 years old. But you understand, in this, Yeah. I mean, most people might be like, well, come on, he was 96. He picked one heck of a time to die, let me tell you that. This from Politico, headline, judge overseeing key Jeffrey Epstein-related suit dies. Now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I do believe, I read this article, I do believe this is, the documents that were unsealed on Friday that implicated former governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson, and others. I believe that was because of this particular case. And there was a lot more documents set to be released. Now, we can assume, and I'm going to assume, that another judge will be assigned and the unsealing will continue. But we also know that judges have an enormous amount of power as well. And there were already people very influential. I remember the reports from like 3 or 4 weeks ago, very influential Jane Does or John Does, anonymous people that were coming forward begging these documents not to be released because of the third parties who are mentioned in them. Third parties like Clinton soldier, former governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson, that former Senator Mitchell from Maine, hedge fund CEO, former, now I guess the late MIT professor. Anyway, so that was the most disturbing piece of news for me today. Also, I'll say just in Arkansas news, it did dawn on me that, that really good, hard-hitting piece that the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette did on the unsealing of the documents relating to John Woods, Milty Russell, Rusty Cranford, Jeremy Hutchinson. It dawned on me that when John Woods walked in and demanded his $30,000 by lifting up his shirt and saying, "I'm not wearing a wire," it dawned on me that they knew that the feds might be investigating them. So they were continuing to steal millions of dollars from the Arkansas taxpayer and the federal taxpayer in general, millions of dollars. They knew that the feds were on their tail, and yet they continued in their illegal activities. That's what dawned on. That just is so frustrating and makes me angry. And there are times. Remember when Jeremy Hutchinson pled guilty and everybody talked about how sad they were? I mean, in the paper, everybody was quoted. Well, it's a sad situation, and it certainly is a very tragic situation for a family or anything like that, for sure. But to think about the fact that they did it at all, but then to me, it just really compounds the frustration, the lack of faith many of us have in our own government. I mean, some of that faith is being restored thanks to the prosecutors, thanks to the U.S. attorneys, thanks to the people who have gone after these high-profile local politicians. But the fact that they knew the feds were sniffing around, they knew, and the fact that John Woods walks in there and is like, hey, I'm not wearing a wire, give me my $30,000. I mean, what does that tell you? That's what dawned on me this morning. I'm not wearing a wire, give me my $30,000. It means they knew the feds were potentially about to bust any one of them at any moment. And they continued going about their corrupt lifestyles. That is very frustrating. The telephone number this morning, 870-275-9799. Let's go to Hong Kong. No, we do not have a correspondent standing by. Let's go now live to Hong Kong. No, Hong Kong is in the people of Hong Kong are in a tough situation. I will say this. Those of you who pray, I would be praying for Hong Kong, the people there, the people wanting to maintain the freedom that they have. A lot of people don't know this, but Hong Kong is, relatively speaking, a free society, much more freer than mainland China. And I think we all know China doesn't like that. China certainly doesn't like Christians, and there are Christians in Hong Kong that appreciate their religious freedom. The protesters are waving the American flag, singing the national anthem because, newsflash to all you leftists out there, the concept of the freedom of speech, not hate speech, the freedom of speech is still synonymous with the American flag. You know, the flag that Colin Kaepernick takes a knee to and the left doesn't like and wants to replace. I mean, they do want to replace it. There's no question they want to replace. I mean, at first it's Robert E. Lee, and then it's Thomas Jefferson statue, and then it's the American flag. I mean, it's clearly a progression. I mean, I don't think anybody would deny that it's just they have a problem with the country existing in and of itself. But, yeah, the flag is still synonymous for people trying to get attention when they want freedom. That has got to be, to me, that was so encouraging to understand that. We're going to get to President Trump here in a minute on this issue. Here is this week. This was from a few days ago. This was yesterday. The Chinese media have accused the United States of supporting the riots in Hong Kong, believe it or not. Hong Kong protesters. Joe, show this up. Hong Kong protesters wave American flag and sing national anthem. Now look at this. You see this photo right here? Every one of us. This should make every one of us proud to be an American.
This right here.
Is that not incredible? Think about that. Waving our flag to try to get some of what we got that we take for granted every single day over there.
Not even from the United States, and 10 times more patriotic than every member of Antifa.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Absolutely, Joe. Yeah, people are worried about a potential Tiananmen Square-like situation. That's what it says in this article. Let's actually go. So the riot police stormed the airport where they were yesterday, and this happened. Show this video. Give us audio of it as well. It is of a riot police officer coming in and putting a baton kind of at a small woman's head as she's on the ground. And this guy gets mobbed by pro-demo. I mean, he gets the tar beat out of him. Look at this. Tackling the woman, and then just gets swarmed. And you see, I don't know what that was. Was that a milkshake or something? And he's just kind of left dazed and confused as they take the woman away. Anyway, this is not going to end well, I'll tell you that much. Not going to end well. Here is another video on Twitter. This is a disturbing video taken just across the border with Hong Kong. Look at all of these troops amassing. Look at the line. Got a lot of vehicles. See how far stacked they are back in between those skyscrapers there? You see that? That's a lot of Chinese military right there. And then you can see the airport, okay? All right, next up, President Donald Trump. Our intelligence has informed us that the Chinese government is moving troops to the border with Hong Kong. Everyone should be calm and safe. Now, amidst a mass of mainstream media articles that say things like this, Trump blinked again, postponing tariffs. Trump doesn't have the guts. He didn't follow through with the tariffs that were supposed to go into place yesterday. I didn't see one mainstream media article, and the media loves to speculate these days, about the KGB and Russia and, with no evidence and unnamed sources. I didn't see one article that even suggested that the tariffs not going into effect might have something to do with Trump trying to negotiate the freedom of these people in Hong Kong. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but every single article that they put out there, this is go to this headline here about what's going on in Hong Kong. Trump is harsh on China, except when it comes to democracy. These are the headlines in the midst of what's going on in Hong Kong, them waving the American flag. The headlines are, President Trump's not doing anything in Hong Kong. The fact of the matter is you don't know what he's doing. And if he told you, you would misreport it. In the past week, President Trump has described China's trade practices as an anchor on us. Yet, as Chinese officials increasingly hit at a potential violent crackdown on pro-democracy demonstrators, Trump has remained largely silent. First of all, as much as I want America to be the savior of the world, well, let me rephrase that. As much as I would love for America, to help these people in Hong Kong, all right? Fact of the matter is, this president may choose not to do so if it's in the American people's best interest, if it's in the American farmer's best interest. Now, I want you to think about this, because this certainly is, this would be a departure. And maybe that's why he's getting such press like this, but this would be a departure of the traditional American norms, where we might bend over backwards to try to stop China from cracking down on the last freedoms that Hong Kong has. For those, many of you maybe don't know out there, Hong Kong is not a part of the Chinese government the way the rest of China is. Hong Kong was a British colony. I think in the mid, was it right around the 21st century, was it around the millennium? I can't remember. That movie Rush Hour, though, the whole plot of that movie Rush Hour with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan was about the British handover to China of Hong Kong. But when they did it, they kept certain freedoms, right? Like the freedom of religion and speech and assembly to a degree, although there's been, but they have a lot more freedom. And so this protest, and I think it's been described wrongly in the media, this protest is really about them trying to maintain the American-ish freedoms that they already have. They're not really good on privacy and that sort of thing. They're kind of terrible on privacy, actually. A lot of court surveillance over there on the citizens. But that's what's actually going on here. But what I would like to suggest to you is, this idea that America is the world's police, which we're not, certainly not under Trump because of the bad results it's gotten us in the past. If the president could negotiate, and I know I'm just throwing this out there, I'm not saying this is what's happening, but I'm thinking from an America first, people that say America first is racist or somehow, advocating white nationalism, that's not the case. Trump's quote public, silence on this could really have to do with the fact that he is negotiating behind the scenes. You don't know, but from what I can tell, this president makes every single decision based on how it affects this country, and that's why borders are so important. That's why the concept of being an American citizen is so important. Let me know what you think about this. I mean, I want Hong Kong to keep their freedom. Absolutely. I totally want that to happen. And honestly, I don't know what leverage we might have. It might be the tariffs. But then again, it might be, in some context, this may have to do with trade or anything. I don't know. Tell me what you think. You can sound off on Facebook, facebook.com/Conduit News. Also on the YouTube channel, Conduit News. And we got to take a break and reset here. Don't go anywhere. Back in a moment. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. 702-759-9799. That's the telephone number if you want to contribute to the program today. Folks, I want you to imagine for a second that instead of Mexicans coming across the southern border and, people from South America and Central America, instead of that, I want you to imagine that they were Russians. Well, can you imagine? The left would be all for border security at that point. Because we're told that Russia, by the press, is somehow terrible. In terms of they're the worst domestic or the worst international threat that we face. But then you start to kind of look around, and nobody really wants to talk about China. Now, the president does, but a lot of other people don't seem to. Can you imagine if Russia was investing in states like ours, like Arkansas, and coming in and getting these sweet economic development deals, using our resources to...
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
Yeah, red flag laws. Red flag laws. Donald Trump did tweet about that. Did you hear about this? First of all, he tweeted, many blaming me and the United States for the problems going on in Hong Kong. I can't imagine why. Then we have this. Would Chris Cuomo be given a red flag for his recent rant? Filthy language and a total loss of control. He shouldn't be allowed to have any weapon. He's nuts. Now, many people thought, oh, no. I mean, I know the president said he's open to red flag laws or whatever. I think he's going to be getting some, and has gotten some different advice on all that. But I think the president here is trolling the left, kind of exposing the ridiculousness of a red flag law. Could be wrong here, but, I think this is tongue-in-cheek, but it also exposes and actually proves the point of all of us on the right that say that red flag, do you think Chris Cuomo should have his Second Amendment right taken away from him because of him using cuss words and threatening somebody? I'll throw you down the stairs? Or is that what we're going to say, that you can't have an altercation like that where nothing was actually done, like there wasn't any actual physical violence? I'm not going to say Chris Cuomo should be disarmed because I don't believe the Second Amendment and your right to defend yourself is that flimsy. That's just my opinion on that. By the way, we didn't talk really about this at all, but a lot of people calling Fredo racist because if you say the word, because he was saying that, it's like saying the N-word. If you call an Italian person Fredo, it's like calling a black person the N-word. And I'll just reference you to John Mulaney on that one. Comedian, writer, John Mulaney, who said, if you're comparing the badness of two words and you can't even say one of them, pretty sure you don't have an argument, right? We can't even say the N-word, but you can say Fredo. John Mulaney, man, his stand-up is great. What's new, pussycat? That story is fantastic. And what else do we have here? This next one. This next one is just the president's Twitter feed, which I've I'm refreshing pretty much all day this morning, or just trying to figure out. I want to know what he tweets next, We got a great show for you. Coming up at the bottom of the next hour, we'll be talking with Arkansas Right to Life's Rose Mims. Got a really interesting announcement. There's a play that's going to be touring Arkansas, a play, that's right, that has to do with, it's called Viable. It has to do with a woman who had an abortion. It's a one-act play. Also at the top of the next hour, let's talk about Russellville, let's talk about Pope County, and let's talk about casinos. This headline, the Justices of the Peace of Pope County opt to back Cherokee Group for a new casino. Little discussion precedes decision to sign on to plan. This is obviously in the wake of them being accused of holding secret meetings. Also, an anti-abortion stance has been taken in the city of Springdale as the city council approves a resolution saying that they are a pro-life city. Back in a moment.
Hi, folks.
I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. The profits back home. Do you think people would be reporting on that in a negative way? But for some reason, when China does it, it is okay. And they don't even really give it a second thought, except for programs like this one that are wondering, wonder why China is so important. I want to introduce you folks to Brigadier General Robert Spalding. He has a book that's coming out in October called Stealth War: How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. General Spalding, thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Let me just start with your book. I mean, what made you want to write this book? I'm assuming it's, your experience in the U.S. Air Force.
Well, so what I've been looking at for the last 6 years, Paul, is the essentially influence and infiltrate.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Very, very juvenile. 870-275-9799. You can call or text that number. That's 870-275-9799. In the Epstein situation, Attorney General William Barr has placed the guards that were assigned to watch Jeffrey Epstein on leave, and the warden has been reassigned, the warden of the MCC. Now, the news at this point, the mainstream media is reporting that the MCC in Manhattan is essentially like Arkham Asylum. That's what I heard on the way in this morning. That standing water in the cells, and essentially saying that might possibly, like the conditions, the rats, that might actually drive you to kill yourself. That it had been very, very harsh conditions on Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I hate to say this. I really do. As someone who wants to get to the truth of any situation, who wants to attempt to go over, well, let's talk about what we know and what we don't know. Folks, I don't believe anything they tell me on this specific issue, and really on a lot of issues. Increasingly, whatever the mainstream media tells you, you can almost believe the opposite of that and it be true. I know that, people say, well, you're exaggerating, Paul, but if you'll just think about the big stories. Think about what they tell you. Think about what they tell you is racist. Is it? No. As a matter of fact, it's they themselves who are racist often. Russia collusion. What if you were to believe the opposite? What if you were to believe that instead of Donald Trump colluding with the Russians, that it was actually Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation to sell a bunch of uranium to the Russians? Or what if you were to just believe the opposite? Like, oh, Donald Trump is a Russian agent. What if it was actually Hillary that was colluding with him? Just believe the opposite. Well, that turns out to be accurate. If you know anything about what the Russians and the Clintons and the Democrat Party did, or maybe you leave the Russians out of it. Maybe it's like, well, what if the complete opposite is true, and it had nothing to do with Russia trying to steal the election, but it had everything to do with the British government and our allies trying to steal the election with Christopher Steele. You understand what I'm saying here? Like, the media, I mean, people are losing confidence left and right. That's why the only silver lining to Epstein being dead or perceived dead, I don't know, okay? I'm just telling you, I don't know, is that nobody's believing the media. If you're on the left, you don't believe Epstein killed himself. If you're on the right, you don't. If you're in the middle, most people do not believe what the talking heads are telling them right now, and that actually is a positive thing, believe it or not. So when they say, well, the warden, and you know who I feel sorry for right now? You know who I really feel sorry for? I feel sorry for those couple of guys, and let's assume that they all are, but I would like to assume they are. I feel sorry for that one guy at the MCU, or the MCC, Manhattan Corrections, who's like straight-laced, who is, honorable. I feel sorry for that guy, because that guy's about to get framed, and all this is going to get put on him. You know what I mean? Can you imagine if you're a prison guard working at that facility right now, and you've done absolutely nothing wrong? Well, get ready, because you may be about to do, you may have done a lot of things that you don't remember doing all of a sudden. Look, I know there's an investigation. I hope people get to the bottom of it. Maybe they will. But you're going to ask me to believe the press? This guy was on suicide watch until he killed himself, and then he wasn't on suicide watch anymore because people realized that you can't be on suicide watch and kill yourself. So he's not on suicide watch. Oh, how convenient. That's just as convenient as Christopher Steele being a former MI6 agent. A former. Oh, if he was a current, well, that would mean, that's too uncomfortable. Anyway, sorry I got on a rant there, but think about it, though. I want you to actually think about this. How often can you take whatever the mainstream media is telling you and believe the complete reverse of that, and it actually be the truth? It's happening more and more, and I think the American people are getting wise to it, and we'll find out if there's more of us than there are of them, of people still asleep in 2020. Honestly, I really believe that. We'll find out. Why are they coming after the internet? Why are they mad that Clinton body count was trending? The Washington Post. I told you that on Monday. They were so upset that the Washington Post, writes an article talking about the conspiracy theories and the social media platforms are not doing enough to stop the spread of conspiracy theories like the Clintons killed Jeffrey Epstein, with no mention of the fact that the Russians and the Russian conspiracy was something that they put out there with no evidence for 2.5 years. That the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. Here's another question. This was brought to my attention on Monday after the show. So Clinton body count starts to trend on Twitter on Saturday. And then all of a sudden, it's taken down and it's replaced with Trump body count. They want to blame this on Trump. Now, obviously, Clinton body count is, everybody their minds went to Clinton because we knew that Clinton's, flown on the plane 26 times. Donald Trump's flown 0. So people on the left say, well, they got real creative. And they're Clinton body count? Okay, Trump body count. So Trump body count then replaces Clinton body count, but not in actual, rankings of popularity, just artificially gets put there. So the question is this. It's not why would you do it. We know Twitter's leftist and everything else. My question is who's doing it? There's got to be one person that did that, right? There's got to be one person that was like, I'm taking Clinton body count down from trending and I'm putting a less popular Trump body count up there to try to combat this, to try to combat the explosion on Saturday of people using their intuition and understanding what's going on. They now see themselves as elites, and they believe that the masses are too stupid to figure things out. They believe that the masses jump to conclusions. Twitter, or the people that work for Twitter, believe that they are there to control what it is we see and think and believe. They look at us like we're lab rats, is what I think at this point. And the inmates are trying to run the asylum, and so we've got to do something about it. And one of those things that they tried to do was, okay, well let's replace Clinton body count with Trump body count. Who actually did it though? What individual? Who was it? Who actually pushed the button to make that happen? Was there a directive from Jack Dorsey, the head of Twitter? Hey, get rid of this? Or is there a standing policy? You would think there's a policy, or you're hiring these leftists, millennials that are upset. I mean, think about this. Have you seen those man on the street interviews where conservatives engage with liberals? And if you try to have a conversation and you try to combat with facts, oftentimes the left resorts to personal attacks. If not, what the left now does is they claim that the speech that you are saying, even though it's kind, it's respectful, but you're just trying to have an argument, that the speech itself is hate speech. Now, once they get to that point, then they themselves, they're telling themselves that they're morally superior. And if you're morally superior, then you're justified to essentially stack the deck and make the system unfair. After all, they would justify it by saying, well, this country was just founded by a bunch of white slave owners and the deck is stacked against anybody who's not white, right? That's what they believe. So they've got no problem then being unfair. It's the way they believe. The ends justify the means. They can do whatever they want to get what they want, which is a very dangerous thing. If you know anything about the human condition, it's very, very dangerous. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on the Epstein thing. The judge is dead. I did tell you that. The judge that was releasing Epstein documents has died. He was 96. Judge overseeing key Jeffrey Epstein-related suit dies. Of course, they were unsealing all these documents. I guess this had to do with the alleged victim, human trafficking, sex trafficking victim, Virginia Guthrie. Virginia Guffrey. And it had to do with Ghislaine Maxwell. But Ghislaine Maxwell, the madam that was helping Jeffrey Epstein pimp these girls. There was news a couple of days ago that Maxwell has decided to cooperate with the federal government in the wake of Epstein's, quote, suicide death, end quote. Apparent suicide. The media started going with that too, by the way, when nobody was believing what they were telling. The apparent suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. Apparent. Well, okay, that's good. This is these are some of the documents that implicate Alan Dershowitz, Bill Richardson. Of course, Alan Dershowitz, believe it or not, has wanted these documents to come out because he claims that these documents will actually prove his innocence to this whole situation. Who knows? Who knows at this point? It's all very, very frustrating. Folks, coming up at the top of the hour, I am going to be talking about Pope County. Going to be talking about what's going on with the casinos. I, for one, am shocked at how it appears that the citizens of Pope County are now for the casino. Now, I know there are others who are not still, people who want a better Pope County. But let's talk about this just on the front page of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. And it's by Jeannie Roberts. And the piece actually does talk about how Pope County, the county itself, when we were voting on that amendment that put a casino in our Constitution in Pope County, Jefferson County, and let West Memphis and Hot Springs expand theirs, it does mention that the county rejected it, meaning that the rest of the state put in place the rules that are now going to dictate Pope County has to have a casino, and now Pope County's going along with it. I just think that's very interesting about what a messaging campaign can do, about what advertising campaigns can do, about what the idea of, well, we'll give you this much money, your communities are going to be getting rich off of this. And once they realize that there's a dollar figure out there, it's like, well, maybe accepting this vice is worth it. Worth it. Notice I didn't say good, because I think many people are thinking, maybe it's worth it. You take a little bad to get some money. Let me know. I want to know what you guys think about that as well. And we'll talk more about that at 7:05. Okay, here is, by the way, we got your meme of the day coming your way at about an hour from now. So you want to stay tuned for that. President Trump ending welfare-dependent immigration, saving taxpayers billions of dollars. This has made the left very upset that President Trump doesn't want to issue green cards to people who are going to be using American taxpayer government assistance, basically government programs. And I think that is fantastic. That's common sense. Why would we want people to come here who aren't able to, now, don't misunderstand me, why would we want people to come here who cannot contribute to American society, right? Why would we want that? I'm not talking about current safety nets for Americans that can't truly take care of themselves. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about bringing in new people. The regulation will be a boon for American taxpayers, according to Breitbart News. Annual $57.4 billion tax cut, the amount taxpayers spend every year on paying for the welfare, crime, and schooling costs of the country's mass importation of 1.5 million new, mostly low-skilled legal immigrants. The National Academies of Science released a report 2 years ago noting that state and local American taxpayers are billed about $1,600 each year per immigrant to pay for their welfare, where immigrant households consume 33% more cash welfare than American citizen households. A recent Center for Immigration Studies noted that 63% of non-citizen households in the United States use at least one form of taxpayer-funded welfare, while only 35% of native-born American households are on welfare. This means that non-citizen households use nearly twice as much welfare as native-born American households. Now, why would we support a system that continues to give us those kinds of results? And then, of course, cue the mainstream media taking the poem on the Statue of Liberty completely out of context. Give us your poor, you're hungry, you're tired, you're huddled masses. They only read that part. They don't read the whole poem. It doesn't mean what you think it means at all. It's very much talking about how we can take. It's really a rebuke of the elite system, where it's a rebuke of the oligarchy. That's what it is. Most of the time, in human history, we govern ourselves based on, oligarchies. Now, a lot of people would argue we've descended in that again today, but the Statue of Liberty was essentially saying we can take those people from Europe and the rest of the world who are not in the oligarchy and are told that they, are terrible at life, and they can come over here, and you're poor, you're tired and hungry, and we've got opportunity and freedom and knowledge, and you can actually make it over here and be free and create your own wealth and create your own life, and not that the Statue of Liberty is not saying come to America so that you can get stuff for free. And yet that's what the media, as they covered this decision by the president, that's what the media claimed the Statue of Liberty stands for. Think about that. Look at that Statue of Liberty. Does that actually look like something? If you think about it, does that look like something that is saying, hey, we're giving away stuff over here for free? Telephone number 870-275-9799. But a lot of people think that. And again, the media, again, here, to bring this full circle, the media's coverage of this decision by the president was telling you that the Statue of Liberty stands for, X. What if you were to believe the complete opposite? What if the Statue of Liberty actually stands for the complete opposite of, come here and we'll take care of you without you doing anything? Well, if you were to just believe the opposite of what the media said, you would be correct. Once again, I proved my point in the segment. I didn't even plan to. We got to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org.
Of our country by the Chinese Communist Party, and each day that from the day in the Pentagon when I realized that we were in a completely different type of conflict that we really didn't understand, I've learned more and more about this. And so one of the reasons I got out of the military when I did, because I wasn't forced out, I voluntarily retired because I needed to get the story out to the American people. And essentially, your analogy of invasion through the southern border is really a good analogy if you look at what's going on in Hong Kong right now, because there's reports that the People's Liberation Army have essentially sent people in to begin beating the protesters, not wearing PLA uniforms, but dressed as protesters. And so it is really an interesting analogy.
I'm really glad you wrote this book. I mean, I've been...
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Our slogan here: Who can you trust? Who can you trust? Right? It reminds me of that Jack Nicholson, the Joker in Batman, with Michael Keaton. You remember that? He's on the float and he's like, who can you trust? Or who do you trust? Who do you trust? Hubba, hubba, hubba. What does he say? Hubba, hubba, hubba. Money, money, money. Who do you trust? Me? I'm giving away free money. And where is the Batman? He's at home washing his tights. Anyways, giving away free money. So who do you trust? Who can you trust? We originally talked about this in the context of, can you trust the media? We're just talking about no. But there are certain people that you can trust. For example, Conduit News, we told you about the corruption that's been going on for a long time here in Arkansas politics. And wouldn't you know it, if you'd been listening to us, you would have known about these guys that have all gone to jail and maybe more that are going to jail. Who knows? If there's going to be more. I think there's going to be more when it comes to the corruption probes here in the state of Arkansas. So there's that. You have to keep a good long-term memory and a good track record about which media sources there are. Now, in the context of Batman, though, I'm giving away free money. You going to trust me? I think this will give us a good perspective when it comes to the citizens of Pope County and what's about to happen in Pope County, what it looks like it's about to happen. Now, there is an ordinance that has been passed, or there was a vote saying that whatever the JPs decide when it comes to a casino in Pope County, we get to have a separate vote on that. Now, I think there's some that believe that doesn't matter. It can be challenged in court, and because one's written into the Constitution and the other's just a local vote, that the Constitution is going to basically trump this additional check, this thing that was added by the people of Polk County who originally didn't want this casino. We'll talk more about it coming up here at 7:05. Who can you trust? If you're giving away money certainly can allow people to kind of get over their trepidation, if you will. Do you guys remember what? You've got a meme. Okay, hang on, wait on it. Do you guys remember the ICE facility that was shot up that the media paid no attention to? There's now a video over at Breitbart, an exclusive video. Days before the shooting at this ICE facility, there was a protest where leftists threatened the contractor in Florida the day before the ICE facility was shot in Texas. Okay. So in Florida, protest in Florida versus Texas versus the shooting that happened at the ICE facility in Texas. And it is disturbing. Now, you would say, why does this matter? Because there are two separate locations, one protest, one shooting the next day. The contractor that does work, they were threatening the group's former general counsel, John Bulfin, saying things like this. Listen to this. This is the left, right? Quote, "We know where all your children live throughout the country, John Bulfin. You have kids in blank. You have kids in blank. We know everything about you and won't just be seeing us here." Now, they're in Florida. Okay. "We know where you sleep at night. We know what kind of dog food you buy your dogs. We're not joking. John Bulfin, you go to blank. You go to church on blank. You live on blank road. We are not joking." This from the peaceful left, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, scroll down and see the bullet hole in Texas. Yeah. One more hour coming your way next.
The news and talk of Northeast Arkansas. This is News Talk 101.3 FM and 1230 AM KBTM, Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas state capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. I've talked to one of Arkansas's congressmen about the dangers of China several times. Congressman Rick Crawford, he's on the Intelligence Committee in the House. He's certainly aware of it. Then, of course, we've got, Peter Schweitzer, who's written about how China can get to the kids and kind of pay off and give good jobs to the kids of politicians. Why is it that, this is allowed to happen? And when you say in the subheadline of your book, America's elite slept, what are some examples of them being asleep?
Well, one of the things that the Chinese influence is, the Communist Party's influence is so subtle, because the only thing that they're trying to do is to condition us to continue what we've done since the end of the Cold War, and that is to believe that open markets lead to wealth and wealth leads to democracy. If we, as long as we continue to believe that if we're open to China, that they will democratize, they use that as a tool to get inside our own country. And so not only do they, essentially appeal to their beliefs of liberal democracy and its overall inherent value to people, they also appeal to them in a financial way. And so, Biden's son gets $1.5 billion from the Chinese Communist Party to start a hedge fund. You have numerous politicians, you have numerous folks on Wall Street, you have numerous corporate leaders that essentially have financial interests aligned with the Chinese Communist Party. And so it's very easy for them to say, hey, this is really makes sense. Let's stay open so that we can help democratize China, when the Communist Party has complete control over that process.
You keep using the phrase, Chinese Communist Party. I'm glad that you do, but I'd like to, there really is no distinction. I mean, that's who's in control of China. And so, for example, I'd like to get your thoughts on some of their tactics. I think one of their tactics is to try to, it's kind of strange. They're a developing nation under the World Trade Organization rules, and yet they're a developing nation that can afford to invest billions in a state like mine, a state like Arkansas, where we have, I think, 3 or 4 deals where they're going to move these, communist Chinese entities. They're going to come here. We're going to give them our taxpayer dollars, going to give them all these incentives. And I think there's something wrong with that. And now these deals have been kind of put on hold because of the administration, Donald Trump's administration, in the trade policies of what he's trying to do. But is that a tactic that kind of is part of maybe their long 100-year plan to subvert us, is to kind of move into the.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Hour number 2. Thank you so much for being with us. The intersection of conservative ideas and reality. My name's Paul. We've got a great show for you, the remainder of the show, actually. We're going to be talking with Arkansas Right to Life Rose Mims coming up at 7:33. It's always great to talk to her. Tomorrow on the program, as a matter of fact, we'll be talking to the director and producer of a play that's going to be touring Arkansas. This is going to be in Rogers or Springdale, Jonesboro, Little Rock, Texarkana. This is going to be happening September 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. So you still have a little time there, but we're going to kind of do a little preview. We'll be talking with the producer of this play, John Hoover, writer-producer. Talk to Rose Mims a little bit about it here in a little bit. So really excited about that. Also on Friday, I want to remind you, it's kind of the Friday of Congressmen. We'll be talking with Rick Crawford and Bruce Westerman in 2 separate segments. Coming up on Johnny Cash Friday. So let's talk about this front page above the fold headline. JPs opt to back Cherokee Group for new casino. Little discussion precedes decision to sign on to plan. So I got a text message from a friend maybe a day or so ago and said, what is going on in Pope County? Like, why is this, why all of a sudden does it look like they're going to proceed and welcome a casino there? My response was, and this is just from what I've heard, is there are people who were against the casino that have come around because they believe that it's inevitable. And that's a shame. Because in a world of self-government, where the people rule their own local communities, nothing has to be inevitable when it comes to other people from far off places. Now, in this case, I live in Craighead County, not Pope County, and yet I could have voted. I didn't, but I could have voted, and many people around here did, for Pope County to be forced or to have a casino. That's not right, especially when Pope County rejected, at least by the vote, the majority of Pope County residents said they didn't want that particular amendment added to the Constitution. So what is going on? I from what I've heard, it is basically people say, well, it's inevitable, so if it's inevitable, we might as well participate and have a say in where it goes, where it doesn't go, where the money goes, because you know what? There's nothing we can do. Okay. Jeannie Roberts has the story. Look at this photo here. So Pope County majority. That's you put the word majority after your group's name. That's a really good marketing strategy if you want people to think that, well, you're the majority, right? And they're all holding up signs that have been printed that say yes casino. Well, they're not all women, but there are a lot of women.
I don't see a man holding up a no sign.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Or I don't see a man holding up a yes sign.
Oh, then there are others that just say no casino. I see that in the back. See that in the back there? There are two men holding up signs that say, or maybe that's one man holding up two signs. Yeah. There's one guy that's got a yes sign up there in the top right in the photo. But they're wearing the shirts that say Pope County Majority. And are those crosses? What are those on the... Those are hashtags. Okay. I was like, whoa. It didn't look like a hashtag to me. So they're using the hashtag Pope County Majority. Okay. So they believe this is going to be good for Pope County. Jeannie Roberts rightfully points out that there have been allegations, the very top of her piece, allegations of secret meetings. The Pope County Quorum Court has been meeting in secret, some say. Okay. They have decided to go with the Cherokee Nation businesses. Cherokee Nation businesses, they're going to put a casino and hotel complex just north of Russellville and Interstate 40. There were 4 rivals and 13 justices of the peace. 8 voted to sign the resolution. Philip Haney, Caleb Moore, Reuben Brown, Jackie Heflin, Doug Skelton, James Casturin, Ray Black, and Ernie Eckelmeyer. 4, let's see, Jamie Jackson, Joseph Pearson, Bill Sparks, and Tim Wittenberg voted against it, and Justice Blake Tarpley abstained. Quote, we thank the county judge for the leadership and judgment he has demonstrated in selecting the proposal and operator best suited for Pope County and negotiating the most favorable terms possible in the agreement, the resolution said. Now, the county judge of Pope County is a guy by the name of Ben Cross. He read from parts of the agreement, 11-page economic development agreement. So the Cherokee Nation businesses, it says that they will be giving a cashier's check in the form of an economic development fee of $38.8 million. This will have to be paid. They've got 30 days to pay that. If the successful resolution of all litigation or administrative challenges relating to the issuance of a casino license. So if it all goes through, when it's official, they've got 30 days to pay up $38.8 million in an economic development fee. The Pope County judge, quote, I would not allow anything to go to the Racing Commission without an ironclad contract agreement because it's my job to protect Pope County. So, what has changed? The majority of what's weird is Pope County majority is what they're calling themselves, the people that want the casino. But I think it's interesting because the majority of Pope County rejected Amendment 100. Amendment 100, which the rest of the state approved, so I mean, it doesn't matter what Pope County said, but we all voted for casinos to be written in our Constitution in Pope County, in Jefferson County, in Hot Springs, in West Memphis. And at first, Pope County, I mean, it was like, well, Pope County's going to fight this. Pope County's going to win. Now not so much. I'm just curious. I think a lot of people are. What's changed? And yeah, I know people in Pope County. We have listeners in Pope County. I think it's a great area. I know there are people that don't want this casino because of what follows, with casinos. But I mean, it's their choice. Don't misunderstand me. It's their choice. But the issue here is that there's also a group called Citizens for a Better Pope County. And it says here, the Gazette reports that the County Judge Cross and members of the Quorum Court were sued Tuesday by Citizens for a Better Pope County, represented by James Knight. The suit asked that no casino be endorsed without first holding an election as required by the initiated ordinance. Now, this is so to give you guys some background, if you forget, back when the Amendment 100 was on the ballot, and people realized that if this thing passed, and it was likely going to pass, Pope County wasn't going to have a say. They had an ordinance that passed where they said, look, if this thing goes through, and we have to have an additional election to make sure people want it, an additional election. And this sets up, I think, a court challenge that'll be very unique, but I don't know if it'll go towards the people that are against the casino, because while you have a local ordinance that says you need to have an additional election, after the fact is they wrote these casinos and the process by which you get a casino into the Constitution of the state of Arkansas. And I want to remind everybody that the state is sovereign over its territory. These counties and such, they exist because the state of Arkansas exists in its sovereign, as a sovereign state. So that may not work out in their favor, and it's just, it is what it is. We can talk about how it's unfortunate, but let me know, folks. What do you think about this? You support it, against it? 870-275-9799. And tell me why. Why do you think this is a good idea? Why do you think this is a bad idea? The suit asks that no casino be endorsed without first holding an election as required by the initiated ordinance. Cross also addressed rumors and allegations of lack of transparency in the process. I've been very transparent. I've heard I've held multiple meetings. I've met with every side on the issue I can meet. Mayor Richard Harris and I walked into the meeting with the Choctaws in April at the Marriott. First two words out of my mouth were, "Don't tell me anything you don't want me to tell your competitor." Yeah. Well, that's probably a good frame of mind to have. So, Moore declined to comment when asked afterward by an Arkansas Democrat Gazette reporter whom Moore was referring to when he said "we," as if he had communicated either in person or electronically with fellow justices. Economic development agreements. Let's see here. Pope County is earmarked for $27.6 million piece of the pie, while 5 cities share $10 million, $3.3 million to Pottsville, $3.5 million to the city of Atkins, $1.4 million to the city of London, $1.5 million to the city of Dover, $242,427 to the city of Hector. And there's more disbursements after that. Sean Slayton, the CEO of the Cherokee Nation businesses, said that they are, they're excited about the Quorum Court's decision to sign the resolution and accept the agreement. Quote, "From the onset, we have pledged to be an honest, financially stable, and community-driven operating partner. We are thankful for and excited about this opportunity and remain diligently focused on the future and continuing our collaborative efforts with local officials and the community at large." That's, again, from the Cherokee Nation. So, again, what do you guys think about all of this? Will there be an election still? That it kind of indicates here that that still might happen. But my question is, does it even have to happen? Anyway. Anytime local government is not local, and say what you want to, but the situation right now in Pope County, to have a casino, to not have a casino, it's there because people have decided to vote for you. They've put you in this position. You know, I talked to a guy back during that election when Amendment 100 was on, a guy in Baxter County. He told me, well, yeah, I voted for it because, I mean, the casino's not going in my backyard. It's going in Pope County's. Well, there's a lot of people that did that, though. You know, there are a lot of people that view casinos as recreational vice. Like, they don't have a problem gambling. They look at it as entertainment, you know, where you say, you know what, I got $100 and I'm going to spend it on myself, and I'm going to entertain myself on that $100 at a blackjack table or maybe a craps or slot machines. I'm going to entertain myself for 4 hours on this $100 and have a blast doing it. And, you know, maybe I make money, maybe I don't. You know, they leave and they go back home. They go back home to their places of business, work, home, family, church, where there is no casino, where there are not the other problems of crime and addiction that tend to follow or that tend to surround casinos, right? And so it is incredibly selfish. It is maybe one of the most selfish things that you could do if you're talking about saying, well, I voted for the casino, but it's because it's not going in my backyard. I'd like to drive there and entertain myself and then come home. A lot of people feel that way about casinos. I mean, that's why people go to Vegas, but they don't live in Vegas. You know what I mean? And through the petition process here in Arkansas, we got enough signatures. Was this a David Couch thing too? Did David Couch do the casinos? The Little Rock attorney, who believes in direct democracy, by the way, which is really the absence of a representative republic. You know, got enough signatures, you get enough people sign it, and then through the process here in Arkansas, the laws, it's now an amendment to the Arkansas Constitution on the ballot for the people to vote on. I mean, there's an incredible amount of change that has happened in the last couple of election cycles because of this initiated ballot process where you get signatures, get approved. I mean, we have medical marijuana now. We now have casinos. We've got another petition going around to get recreational medical marijuana. And that may be put on the ballot. I mean, all these things, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, if you get that recreational medical marijuana, how's that going to affect? I haven't read the proposal yet. I need to. How's that going to affect the new medical marijuana and all the licenses and all the farms and all the people that stand to make a ton of money by regulating the sale of marijuana? We'll have to figure. Maybe you still. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. I mean, we need to go read that actual proposal. See what's in it. All right, folks, 870-275-9799 is the telephone number. Sound off on Facebook, facebook.com/Conduit News. What do you think? Casino, yes, no, Pope County? We'll be back in just a moment. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Country through these, deals that are under the guise of economic development.
Well, they do not only do that here, they do it all over the world, and it's really a pattern they repeat over and over. Most of those investments will never actually materialize. What they'll do is they'll come in and they'll promise investment. They'll get the politicians to actually believe that they're going to come in, and then they have you, because if you don't do what they say, or if you make one decision that is untoward, and they'll say, oh, because of the decision, we're not going to invest the money. But in reality, most of these investments never materialize. In fact, there was a company called Faraday Futures that was making an electric car that was a competitor to Tesla. They cited their manufacturing facility right off the departure end of Nellis Air Force Base, one of our most secure Air Force bases. Then they went to the mayor of Las Vegas and had him go to the wing commander at Nellis to say, please do not protest the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is putting a very sensitive manufacturing facility right off the departure end of your runway, because Las Vegas needs these jobs. So it is absolutely a tool for
exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Some of your comments about the potential casino in Pope County. I mean, the comments are still coming in on Facebook, but let me give you some of them here. Hang on. Gosh, there's so many that are coming in. It's hard to keep up. Yeah, somebody asked the question. Well, so does that mean we could vote to make Pope County the state's landfill? Well, if you wrote it up and got enough signatures on the ballot, I guess. You know? No one's advocating that, by the way. Bob on Facebook, Pope County majority is in fact the minority. Really? Okay. Let's see. 3% of 30,000 crime is much less than 3% of 1.2 million people expected to come in the years to come. That's the expected turnout according to the casino operators. Let's see here. I do commend Judge Cross and Richard Harris, the Russellville mayor, for doing what they said they would do during their campaigns. Here, this is the one. Jackie on Facebook. Anytime local government isn't local, that's the problem. It's called globalism. Yep. Constitution of Arkansas was amended to give an unfair advantage to one particular business by the legislature. That is a travesty of justice. Janet, if you have big bucks, you can pay enough, quote, volunteers, end quote, to get signatures. Yep. Very frustrating. I know there's a lot of people frustrating out there about that. I'd like for you to tell me, what do you think about it? Feel free. You can sound off facebook.com/Conduit News. What do you think about the casino in Pope County? Again, this was a county that voted in terms of voting for the amendment that's gotten us to this spot. They did not support it. And yet now the Justice of the Peace's Decorum Court have voted to accept a plan from the Cherokee Nation to build a casino. And I'm just curious, are they going to have that vote that they're supposed to have now, like a separate vote? And will that vote hold up? Will it be challenged in court because of what's been written into the Arkansas Constitution, and is now the law of the land, versus a county ordinance saying we want to have one more vote, one more say about whether or not we want this casino? Is the consent of the governed being undermined or thwarted in this situation? Let me know. Facebook.com/Conduit News. We'll be right back with Rose Mims from Arkansas Right to Life. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Yeah, we had some, there was in Arkansas some Chinese nationals last year that were indicted for trying to steal rice technology. There's other reports of, somebody just walking up on a farm and taking a handful of soybeans. It's like, what? It's incredible. Now, I'd like to get your thoughts. Again, we're talking, excuse me, with Brigadier General Robert Spalding, Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute. I love that speech, by the way, that Vice President Mike Pence gave last year at the Hudson Institute, detailing a lot of this stuff when it comes to the dangers of China at all levels, what they're doing, trying to influence and, militarily, economically, trying to essentially subvert the United States as the dominant superpower in the world. Where did some of this start? I mean, I remember Laurel Space, the missile guidance systems Bill Clinton approved in the 90s to start was maybe that the beginning of these technology transfers? Are you familiar with what Bill Clinton did? I think it was 98.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We really appreciate you being with us. 870-275-9799 is the telephone number. If you would like to contribute to the conversation today, welcome back. We've got with Arkansas Right to Life, Rose Mims is back with us. Rose, good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
I'm so glad that you could be with us, and I'm also really excited about this play that's going to be touring across the state of Arkansas called Viable. What can you tell us about it?
Well, we're very excited, too, to be a part of this. I was able to see the play in Charleston, South Carolina in June at our national convention. It had just premiered in South Carolina, and they are starting a national tour. In Arkansas is going to have 4 cities where people can come for free and see this play that it is, they call it The Truth, presented in one act. It's a 75-minute play, 3 actors, 2 chairs. It is a simple but very powerful storyline that tells the story about a secret abortion and then plays out with the trauma and the problems that a secret abortion how it affects the life of the woman who has that abortion in her past, how it affects not only her emotional feelings and relationships with other people, but her spiritual relationship with her God, Jesus Christ.
So I don't. Does it have a happy end? I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, is it happy ending or is it a tragedy?
Well, let me put it this way: at the end of the play, the woman realizes, that the secret abortion has wounded her deeply and is causing so many of the issues that she is experiencing in her life and has for the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes clean and she, reconciles with God and receives that forgiveness and healing that she needs and has hope that her relationships will now improve. And it's just really important. When a woman has an abortion, so many times they keep that held deeply in their heart and don't talk about it. They don't have the right in our culture to grieve for the death of that child, but they naturally know that it was a death, that they lost a child that they may have wanted, but their circumstances just didn't allow that. So, not being able to talk about it, to share their grief, and sometimes their shame and guilt.
Yeah.
It damages them very deeply.
Yeah, a lot of shame and definitely a lot of guilt. This is. I'm excited about the idea of this play. We're talking with Rose Mims from Arkansas Right to Life. The play is viable. Now, do you have locations secure? I mean, it's not till September the 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Going to be touring across the state. Do you have locations secured for all of these? Because I see one says Rogers or Springdale, Jonesboro, Little Rock, Texarkana. What can you tell us about the locations?
Well, we don't have locations. We are actively seeking venues. We would like to have churches open up their community, their family life centers, or even their sanctuary, if it would allow it, to bring this play to the communities, because our churches are full of women and men who are dealing with past abortion in silence. And this play is going to draw them out and give them tools, counseling. There are so many pro-life ministries that specifically deal with post-abortion trauma. And we want to give these tools to these people who are suffering. Everybody knows somebody that's had an abortion. Many times we don't know it because they don't talk about it. But just to have these resources to give them so that they can restore their relationship with Jesus Christ, number one, and then have a relationship with others in their life that are affected by their pain.
Yeah. I think that's, I think this is a really good effort, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. But I want to reiterate what you just said. So if there are churches out there, or people out there who are members of churches, and right now there are they don't have the actual locations yet. They want to perform this play for free to the public in Rogers or Springdale on the 27th of September, Jonesboro on the 28th, Little Rock on the 29th, Texarkana on the 30th. So those of you who are listening on our terrestrial stations as well as online, I got a feeling, Rose, that you guys are going to have a venue real soon for this play. I really do.
Yeah, well, that's top priority, having a place. The other need is finances to fund, the performance. It's $3,000 for each performance, and Arkansas Right to Life is seeking partners to help us to bring this to the community. It is not a fundraiser for us. It is strictly us wanting to bring the hope and the healing that Viable will give to the millions, and there's hundreds of thousands of people here in Arkansas that are suffering from a past abortion. They need this family.
I agree, and this idea that the guilt that women carry with them, or the how it can destroy other relationships moving forward. That this is not it's just not some sort of contrived scenario. I was at the Marble Palace, or at the Capitol, and we were hearing one of the pro-life bills this last session. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Jason Rapert's trigger bill. Anyway, I think that's what it was. But there was a person that came down into the committee table and testified about the abortion that she had. And I can't remember her name, but I believe she works at a pregnancy resource center somewhere in South Arkansas.
Yeah, that was Melinda Chisholm. I was there also.
And so, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it ruined her life. I mean, she told of all the different relationships that it affected, and people in her life that are missing, because this is a missing child. And in the Bible play, this woman who has had this secret abortion, she's confronted by this child and that she aborted. And it's so powerful. I just want so many people to be able to see this play. And I'm not worried, because I know God wants this to happen too. So I need churches, and I need people to step up and financially support it. We will do a love offering at each performance to help to cover the expenses, but I can't depend on that. I mean, these people are coming from, South Carolina, and they're traveling all over the United States, and Arkansas has got to come up with the funds to make this happen. It will be a blessing to everybody who attends it.
Okay, so if there's a minister or a parishioner out there, and they want to get in contact with you, Rose, and Arkansas Right to Life, what do they need to do?
Well, they can call 501-663-4237 or email me at artl4237@att.net.
Okay. And and they can also find out more information, I'm sure, at the Arkansas Life or Right to Life website, correct?
I believe so, yes. And they can go to viableplay.org.
Okay.
I know that pastors sometimes are hesitant to get on board with something that they don't know anything about. We have a 9-minute trailer that we can send to pastors to look and see, what this is all about. Mm-hmm. And it's something that they really should offer their church and their community in these cities where we'll be bringing Bible. Like I said, it will be a blessing. You will not go away from it not touched.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited about this prospect. Right now we've been playing just the video of the highlights, so without the sound on, and the audience reaction and how powerful that it is. And Rose Mims, I'm excited about this. I hope that you secure the venues. That's why I wanted to have you on, to make sure that does happen. I know people will step up. Arkansas is one of the most pro-life states in the country, but the idea, and I've heard everybody from Abby Johnson to Lila Rose, talking about how you have people in your own congregations that are struggling with their past mistakes concerning, aborting a child. And so this is, I think, a good ministry, and I really appreciate you coming on to talk about it, Rose.
Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate your support, and I hope to see you in Jonesboro.
Absolutely. Also, Rose, you helped me secure the director and producer of this play, who's going to be on the program tomorrow. And so tomorrow at this time, we'll be talking with John Hoover. And, I want to get his perspective on this, but also reiterate that, we got to have venues for this. And so if you get an update on that today, let me know, and I'll, amend my remarks tomorrow and let people know.
Yeah, we've got our dates, we've got our cities more or less, and, once we know exactly where and the time, we're going to be pushing that hard, because we want to fill these churches, to fill these places where Bible is going to be seen.
All right. Rose Mims, appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you, Paul.
All righty, folks, we're going to take a break and a reset here. We're going to be back with your meme of the day as well as a wrap-up of the stories of the day. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they got ICBM technologies, essentially, through commercial space launch. So this has been an evolving strategy on their part. What they saw, especially after the first Gulf War, is that, okay, they could not compete militarily with the United States, and so they needed to find another way. And so there's kind of three things that they looked at as to how they would design their strategy. One, they believed that nuclear weapons made the probability of war between China and the U.S. very remote. Nobody wanted to go there. And so they looked for another strategy to get at the United States. So how does a weaker power take over a stronger power? And throughout history, they have been much more aligned with the idea that you have strategies that are deceptive, that don't actually bring the risk of conflict, but actually allow you to subdue a foe. So it's really about winning without fighting. And so two things that...
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
All right, here is a response from our segment on the Pope County Casino. A response: the Quorum Court rushed through a resolution last night in favor of Cherokees without another local vote, which the initiative ordinance required. That's why I think they're being sued. Well, no, they're being sued also for they were urging that, but now they're also being sued for the alleged illegal meetings. They claim it was impossible to obey the law, meaning obey the ordinance without violating the law. They refuse to postpone the action. Multiple suits are or will be pending. Now, this is a source of mine in Pope County. They claim it was impossible to obey the ordinance without violating the law. That has to be because the people who are pro-casino want to ignore the law that was passed or the ordinance that was passed by the citizens of Pope County saying, we want another vote, just us. We want the right to be able to reject the casino if we want to. That is a local county law that was passed, but what we all voted for was to amend the Arkansas Constitution and put the casino in. And so I understand, not saying it's right, but I certainly understand why they would make that argument. They're saying, well, the Constitution of Arkansas is the higher law of the land. We have the high ground, on legally speaking. So we're not going to honor that. Now, whether or not they're actually right, I have the high ground. Whether or not they actually are going to honor that, I kind of lost my train of thought, Obi-Wan, in there. Gosh, I can't do this anymore. I've got Joe in there, and then I chimed in. I can't help it. I have the high ground. Don't do it, Anakin. I have the high ground. You underestimate my powers. Okay. By the way, in the wake of The Last Jedi, those prequel movies are getting better and better in my mind. The Last Jedi was terrible film. Hang on. But anyway, whether or not the ordinance, whether or not they actually are just using the fact that it's written into the Constitution as their advantage, or whether or not it would be breaking the law. I don't know if it's breaking the law. I don't know if it's saying, well, if we go ahead and vote, then we're breaking the law of the Arkansas Constitution. That may be a stretch too far, but still, this is all going to end up in a court somewhere. You would think at some point there's going to be lawsuits filed because the people who are against the casino, they want to have an additional vote because it's on the books that you're supposed to have an additional vote. The people who are for the casino in Pope County are saying it's written into the Arkansas Constitution. We don't have to do anything here. And what's at the heart of all of this? Money. That's right. That's what's at the heart of all of this. 870-275-9799. I apologize that I'm a movie nerd dork, but especially if it's a science fiction movie, then it's terrible. So here we go. Let's. We're not ready for the meme of the day yet. Hang on. I want to do a little rehash here. If you listen to the first hour, you heard some of this, but the judge, listen to this, the judge that was in charge of unsealing the Epstein documents is dead. He was 96. That's still that is some kind of coincidence. The guy who unsealed the documents, and there's more documents that still need to be unsealed. And so now they're going to have new judge on that case, because he passed away. Also, Hong Kong. Pray for people in Hong Kong. Pray for Christians in Hong Kong. They are waving the American flag. They want to keep what freedom they have left for mainland China. And I don't know if that's going to happen, folks. I really don't. Of course, the president's being blamed for not doing enough because they use every single story in this country by the mainstream media is used to blame the president for something, okay? And there was not one, and I will reiterate this. There was tons of stories yesterday about how, Trump blinked. Trump doesn't have it in him. He didn't let those tariffs. He postponed the tariffs. He's really not serious. He blinked. He was bluffing the whole time. There was not one story that I saw that suggested that maybe, just maybe, him postponing the tariffs had something to do with Hong Kong. Not one story that suggested that the two might be linked. That as a businessman, you don't just see things as, well, this is economics and this is about democracy. No. You look at multiple variables to try to get what you want. And we don't know what the president is doing in related to Hong Kong. We really don't. We don't know what these trade negotiations really are. We don't know. Now, at the same time, maybe the president is staying out of it. And maybe he's doing that because his main job is to worry about Americans and getting the best deal for America. And that would be, I think, a huge, stark contrast from our foreign policy and our motivations for the last 50 years. When it comes to presidents, the president tweeting, "Many are blaming me and the United States for the problems going on in Hong Kong. I can't imagine why." Let me go to his actual Twitter. Has he tweeted today? Let's see here. I don't think so. This last tweet was 10 hours ago. Is that still holding me refresh? Yeah, last tweet was 10 hours ago, where he was thanking, let's see here, great interview of Ron Vitelio, former acting ICE director, by Jesse Waters on Fox News, about all of the work that is being done and has been done on our southern border. Thanks, Ron. Terrific job. Now, if only the Democrats would fix the loopholes in asylum. A lot of videos I saw of 14 new miles constructed on the border. That's what I read last night. And then, of course, we have the new immigration welfare rule that's being changed, trying to stop from people coming over here and being non-productive citizens and costing us Americans more and more taxpayer dollars. And here's the last thing. We didn't talk about this at all. Can you go to the Breitbart story? I want you to – this is so funny. All of these Democrats, I'm just like you. Democrats eat food in Iowa. Look at all these photos. They're just like us. That's Kamala Harris eating a pork chop. Scrolling down, here's her opening a box of pork chops, is what it's described as. And a box of pork chops, really? Like, was that like a box of donuts? Maybe they do things different up in Iowa. So there's a box of pork chops. Keep scrolling down. There's her initial bite into a pork chop. She's just like us. Look at that. She's continuing to eat the pork chop. She's probably never had a pork chop a day in her life. Keep going. Keep scrolling down. Here we go. Or maybe she's like, pork. We'll just do this to eat with the commoners. There's Christian Gellibrand in the next one. And what is she doing? Is she flipping chicken wings or chicken breasts? Yeah. She looks real comfortable over a grill, doesn't she? She look at her. There's chicken on a stick. She's just like us. Keep scrolling. Just give me a constant scroll. And then we got Cory Booker. I don't know what he's eating. And then who's this? You got Yang, Andrew Yang, and then you got Pete Bud Edge, Amy Klobuchar. What's she eating? Some sort of anyway. Hey, when they were at the Iowa State Fair, what was funny is they had people on the Ferris wheel, and the people on like zip lines or whatever, they were all holding Trump 2020 flags. It was pretty funny. Also, it dawned on me, we're about to get to your meme of the day here in just a minute. Go ahead and get it ready. It dawned on me just how bold and brazen corrupt Arkansas politicians and lobbyists were. On the news that John Woods walked into Rusty Milton Cranford's office, raised up his shirt in all his glory and said, "I'm not wearing a wire, I want my $30,000. On the news of the unsealing of that documents and the FBI transcripts on it all, can you believe these guys were continuing to do what they were doing, stealing from taxpayers, knowing that the FBI was right behind them, knowing that the FBI was investigating, and they continued to operate the way they were operating? That, to me, I mean, like, if there's any sympathy that you might have, well, it's unfortunate to see anybody go to jail and have their freedom taken away because they used to be running around the Marble Palace in a suit and they were looked at like they were legitimate and an upstanding citizen and blah, 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 blah. I feel sad. Really, you feel sad? These guys knew they were being investigated by the FBI, and they continued to do these things. So, no. Yeah, my sympathy meter, my sympathy tank is empty. Here's your meme of the day, courtesy of Conduit News. That Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. No, he didn't. Yeah, but you can imagine what it'd be like if he did, right? The classic Billy Madison, Chris Farley, Adam Sandler meme. We'll post this up at Conduit News' Twitter page at Conduit News. Also, Facebook.com/Conduit News. Arkansas, I hope everybody out there has a great, wonderful, and prosperous day. I want to remind you again, Arkansas Right to Life are looking for churches to volunteer their space at the end of September for this play about the consequences of having a secret abortion. It's a play. We're going to be interviewing the writer-producer tomorrow on the program at 7:30. They're looking for locations in Springdale, Jonesboro, Texarkana. Hang on one second. I want to make sure I leave you with the right. Rogers or Springdale, Jonesboro, Little Rock, and Texarkana. They're looking for locations. So contact Arkansas Right to Life if you're interested and you want to know more. Arkansas, be safe.